Today we're going to be talking about whether or not the Armageddon box is going to be worth the purchase. So if you don't know, new edition of Warhammer is coming out, and every new edition of Warhammer comes with a really big value box. So spoilers for the video, for new players, the really big value box is going to be like your bang for your buck. This is something you really want to pick up. There's going to be a few other options coming out a little bit after, so if you miss out on this one, or you're watching this video in the future, and you like a lot of what the contents are being shown here, you're going to have a second chance to get most, but not all of the stuff shown here. We're going to talk about the starter sets later in the video. For returning players, or for players who started in 10th edition, where you might already have a lot of these units in this box, the value is still going to be a little bit less. But smarter people than me, like Auschwitz Tactics, has deduced that the box is roughly a 70% discount. So the box costs about $360 Canadian, $290 American, I think it was, and like 180, 100 something pounds or whatever they have over in the UK. Sorry, I really should know, but unfortunately, I don't at the moment. But point being is, like, it's a lot of money. Now there's plenty of discount retailers you can get it from. So in Canada, it'd be like Toy Snowman, Fenris Workshops, Tista Minis, 401 Games, Sunward Hobbies, I think, also runs a discount on some of the stuff. There's a couple different Grimdark Games, that, just a handful of places where you'll be able to probably get it closer to about $310. So like, it's a nice chunk of saving, saved you some stuff. So this is everything you get in the box. So you get, we'll do the boring stuff first. You get the core rule books, and you get the Operation Imperador lore book. I'm glad they separated it this time, because it's nice to have a lot of the little things like, weapon rulings and all that stuff, or the wound chart and all that, especially for newer players starting off. It's really nice to have that stuff just in a tiny little book you can carry on your person. The Leviathan one's like a tome. It's like this thick, it's kind of hard to carry around, especially with your models. So I'm really glad they split those two up. You got two mission decks. You got this mission deck down here, the red one. That's going to be your, is that the mission deck? Yeah, that's the chapter approved deck. So that's going to contain your primary missions, your secondary missions, your forced depositions, kind of how you do a really quick pickup game, right? Then besides that, it's how you do your little, what do they call it, campaign deck. It's how you turn your little games that you play by themselves into one big narrative. So all in all, that's a lot really cool, and you get a little transfer sheet there. They're all right. You're probably more interested in the models, right? So looking at the models here, my camera, I got a new camera, so it's all up here, but my eyes are going to be looking down. Sorry, folks. Let's go over the models you get real quick. You get a captain, a librarian, a chaplain with jump pack, and an ancient. You get 10 intercessors, 3 eradicators with heavy bolters, 5 vanguard vets, and a land speeder. That's the Space Marine half. Let's just talk about the Space Marine half real quick before we go over onto the Orc half. Both halves of these boxes are really sweet. A lot of people are saying the Orc half is better. I don't blame them. That Orc half is really nice. But we'll take a closer look at the... Sorry. I'd rather have a mouse than a little laptop thing, the pad, whatever you want to call it. So we'll look at the captain here first. The captain comes with 3 different helmet options. The one I really like is this one right here. But all the bare-headed dudes are going to come with helmets, which is really nice. Captains are fantastic for starting off your army. They're like the main guy who leads your army for all the new players. Really awesome model. It comes with the relic shield and a power sword. It should be pretty easy to, if you do have a bits collection. If you don't, so bits are like all the little extra pieces that, like, if you buy a kit of like intercessors and they come with all their bolt rifles, you probably end up with a couple extra bolt rifles, a couple extra helmets. That's what we call bits. So if you end up with a couple extra bolt rifles, it's probably pretty easy to swap the shield out for one of those, or a plasma pistol or something like that. These are monopose kits, meaning they can really only be built one way without kit bashing, but it really shouldn't be too hard. I have a video coming out eventually. It's wasn't my best work, but yeah, should be pretty easy to kit bash that. You got a librarian. He's looking pretty cool. He also has the option for helmet. You get your chaplain with jump pack. Chaplains are always nice to have. And then you get Oh, Vanguard vets. Where's the Ancient? We'll look at the Ancient before we do the Vanguard vets. You get this Ancient once again with the helmet, a really nice custom Armageddon banner, because this box is very much themed around the Battle for Armageddon. That's like your core, like that's your greatest hits for your command, like your company command, right? Captain, Ancient, Chaplain, Librarian. You're really only missing like an Ancient and a Lieutenant, and then you got like all of them. So it's a really nice, like for new players, to get like your core block of command element. Next up, for individual units, you got your Vanguard veterans. They're looking pretty sweet. Ooh. You get 5 in total. They're all with the Mastercraft power weapons. In this case, the power swords, and a couple have plasma pistols, a couple have regular bolt pistols. They're looking pretty nice. I know a lot of people are a little disappointed on these guys, but they look fine. A little bit more ornamentation on the jump packs would have been nice, though. They're going to be led by the Chaplain. You got, this is the first, I won't call it a red flag, but one of the first problems, very easy problem to fix, is it comes with a 10-man squad of intercessors. So you got your sergeant, you throw in a grenade. No, don't make the picture. Come on. Oh, come on. Oh my lord, I hate laptops. You get another guy. You get this dude who's going to be the squad veteran. So if you were to combat squad, which I don't think you can in the new edition, but he would lead the second half of the squad. He should be pretty easy to kit bash into a sergeant. Because you kind of, if you don't have 2 squads of intercessors, you don't really have anybody for, like, one of your leaders is going to be missing out. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But he should be pretty easy to kit bash into a sergeant. You get the guy with a reloading magazine, guy aiming his scope, all really nice sculpts. Should be pretty easy to kit bash too. Bolt rifle, guy with the knife. Alright, he'd probably be your second easiest to convert into a sergeant. Guy with the Auspex, guy holding the auto bolt rifle. Once again, really nice miniatures. They all have custom chest pieces, and some have different helmets. And they're really nice. I really like these sculpts. You got your Eradicators here. You got the Sergeant, and then you got the 2 extra guys. They are different. He has a more Vader-style angry helmet, whatever you want to call it, the Mark 7. Yeah, Mark 7, not a Mark 8. And then you got this guy here. You got the big heavy bolters that got really cool rules with them. And then if we go on down here, you got your Land Speeder. Land Speeder's going to have an option to swap out for the Heavy Flamer, which is nice. I'd probably still go for the honest slot Gatling Cannon, just because, you know, big machine gun, cool. But the Flamer is a nice option, and it's also going to have an option, they mentioned this in the kit, if you don't like it being on those rocks, it's going to have an option so you can attach your own flight stand later on down the line. I have like a spool of like wire or whatever that I use personally for flight stands, but I'm just going to build it like this one. Yep, here's the Flamer. We'll zoom in on that. Yay, the Flamer. Everybody likes a good Flamer, especially Salamanders. And then some pictures of it, you know, Ultramarines, Salamanders, Crimson Fists, and I think the last one is White Scars. You can paint them up however you want. They don't have to be Blood Angels, which is nice. Not that the Blood Angels aren't cool, they're very cool, but as an Ultramarines player, I'm going to be really happy to paint mine up in blue. And I'm sure, I know a lot of my Salamander buddies, my Imperial Fist buddies will probably be happy to paint their up in, you know, their specific chapter. So, Space Marine halves looks really nice. Start talking about the upcoming starter sets. So after the big box launches, the Armageddon box launches, it's going to come out later in smaller halves. It looks like it's going to be combat patrols. You're going to get the Captain, you're going to get the Librarian, you're going to get the Vanguard veterans, you're going to get 5 intercessors, 5 intercessors, stumbling over myself, sorry folks, and a Land Speeder. So you're going to miss out on the Jump Pack Chaplain, the Ancient, and the Eradicators. You'll probably be able to pick that kit up if it's not on a cheaper discount. If it's combat patrol price, probably about $200 Canadian. Right? Once again, for retailers, you'll probably be able to pick that up about around like 170-ish, depending. So not technically as good of a deal as the $360, but if you kind of really only want the Space Marines, you can wait for that. We'll go on to the Orcs, and then we'll talk about the Orcs combat patrol that's going to be coming out later. So Orc Skip, the big war boss, he's really cool. He comes with this really cool power axe and custom shooter. get the big boss. He's like the Orc Lieutenant. He's the second in charge. He's really cool. He comes with this big chopper. You get the banner knob, who's super cool. I love the open space on this banner, so you can do some freehandings or put some transfers on, or just leave it empty if you aren't feeling up for the task, which is totally valid, by the way, folks. You don't have to just paint half the banner black, the other half red or something. I don't know. Just make it look nice. It shouldn't be too hard. The more you paint, the more confident you'll get. But think of it as a challenge. You'll come up with something cool to put on it. Pain Boy's looking fantastic. Weird Boy, I think, just stole the show, to be honest. He looks so good. He's probably my favorite model outside of the Captain, because I'm a Space Marine, simp. But man, that Pain Boy looks fantastic. You get boys, and now we'll show some of the boys, and we'll talk about the kit focus here, because they may be monopose, but you're going to be able to swap pieces out, and that's going to change up the pose a lot. Now, unfortunately, they don't come with the big shooter or the rocket launcher, but you should be able to kit bash that pretty easily from some of the extra bits you get in the kit. Really nice looking. So they do come with some extra options, including for the knob. So here's how it's going to work: is you're going to be able to use any of the heads you want. Let's go up a little bit. You're going to be able to use any of the heads you want, and then you're going to have multiple torsos that you're going to be able to place. Now, I don't know if you're going to end up with any extra, but if you do, it should be pretty easy to put an extra barrel, chop the barrel off of this guy's and put it on this guy's, and that's a big shooter, and if you attach a rocket on the end of that and cut off the magazine, that's a rocket launcher. Kit bashing orcs is a lot of fun, but just out the box, if you don't even want to kit bash, because it might be your first time assembling him, you're still going to end up with a lot of really cool boys, so don't feel too bad, okay? And the options for the knob, he's going to have to come with the big chop here, the chainsword, but you're going to be able to choose between a custom shooter or the combi rocket, and both look really cool. So that's a little bit more in depth on the boys, and the Gretchen are a little bit like that too when we come down here. You're going to be able to swap out, I think, the heads. I don't quite think it's the poses, because this guy has the rifle held up to his crotch, or his hip actually, and he's looking off to his side there. And then if you look at the guy here, it's the same pose, but this time he has this cool little helmet on, the biker helmet. Now, speaking of bikers, you got a big cool war track. He's got the rocket launcher right there, and he's got a little Space Marine helmet. It's a beaky helmet too, a Mark 6, so that's really cool. There's a lot of really cool stuff in here. And then you got the Big Mech Decker rig. Man, the Big Mech Decker rig looks so cool. Look at it. Oh, man. So, yeah, and then here's some different schemes. You got them painted up as Bad Moons. You got them painted up as Snake Bites? No, I'm probably getting that wrong. Somebody's going to kill me in the comment section down below. And then you got them painted up as who are the blue ones again? I'm an orc player. I should really know all this. I just paint mine up silver and black as the Orc Wonder Raiders. That's what I paint up. But the blue ones are lucky. The red ones go fast, and the yellow ones have more DACA. So that's always fun. Speaking of their starter set, they're going to be getting the starter set Combat Patrol 2 because all the stuff's constantly releasing. We kind of figured out what it was early. It's going to be the War Boss. It's going to be the Weird Boy. It's going to be 20 boys, which is really nice that you're getting all 20. The 10 Gretchen, and then the War Track. So that means you aren't going to get the Dacker Rig, you aren't going to get the Pain Boy, the Banner Boy, or the Banner Knob, sorry, or the Big Boss. And once again, that'll probably cost the same, and they might include them in a big bundle with terrain like they did last time. That's not confirmed though, that's speculation, but you should be able to get most of the contents from these boxes separately. So if you don't want to, once again, you'll have to buy some of the other stuff separately, like the Pain Boy and like the big Dagger Rig, but you should be able to get most of the stuff. So if you're watching this later and you're like, is the Combat Patrol worth it? Yes. Now, for finishing up the video, for long-term players who probably already have 10 intercessors, who might already even have 5 Vanguard veterans, for the older players who do have the old Vanguard vets, because you're like the same dudes. If somebody doesn't want you to play with your old Vanguard vets, they're lame. You know, you might want to pass this one up. Like, the cool stuff looking forward is probably the new Jump Chaplain. Most people already have a captain. I already have like 5 or 6 captains, or 8 captains. We count like, you know, Jump Packs and Terminator captains and whatnot. Just regular Tactics captains. I probably have close to 4. And I give them all the same loadout. You know, I'm boring, but I like having one for each different company. So, you know, same thing with the Librarian. He's cool because he's got the 4 staff, but, you know, a Librarian's a Librarian. Same thing with the Ancient, but, so, like, older players, you know, what you're looking at is the Ball Rifle Eradicators, the new Vanguard vets, the Jump Chaplain, and the Landspeeder. If you don't like any of this stuff, you can probably skip out on the box. Onto the boys. Most orc, like I have a war boss. In fact, I have like 3 war bosses. I already have 3 pain boys actually. I don't have a banner knob, so the banner knob and the big boss are the 2 new really cool ones. And we're also getting the weird boy and the pain boy updated, and the war boss updated as well. So those are really nice updates. 20 boys. I have 120 boys. Both old and new boys. And I have 20 Gretchen already, so, you know, like, you know, to be blunt, you can never go wrong with too many boys. That's how I feel about Intercessors too, so that just might be me. The big mech dagger rig and the new war track. So the Orcs half is definitely looking more refreshed, if that makes sense. But if you're a new player, both of these halves are fantastic starting points, even if you don't feel like doing the little extra work to make one of these guys an extra sergeant. So we'll speak about that real quick. Out of the blocks, it's almost perfect to start playing with on the Space Marine half. You probably want to pick up another squad of boys on the oh my lord, sticky he's on the Orcs half. So we'll talk about this real quick. Captain can go with Intercessors, Chaplain can go with Vanguard vets, Ancient can go with the Intercessors. The Librarian is now by himself because you can only have 2 leaders per 1 squad. If you do split up the squad, and typically if you can't even, how to explain it, if you can't find any extra chain swords, or power fists, or power weapons lying around, or if nobody has a club at the club has like any to hand out to you, right? Which, you know, if you're helping new players, especially some of them might be showing up for the first time building the kits, if you have any spare bets, you know, show up some spare bets, you know, just help it out. I will be for my club, so, you know, just extra taking off the arm and putting on a power sword, or putting a power sword on, or chain sword on the belt, you know, just really quickly make a guy a sergeant. That way you can have your Librarian go into one of the squads. If not, either your Librarian or your Captain will have to be split off by themselves. We can talk about more about support characters and leader characters later, but in a separate video. But yeah, it's almost perfect out the box. You might have to pick up, once again, if you just run them as the Big 10 man, you might have to pick up another box for the Librarian to lead. So it's not quite perfect out the gate. Oh my lord. Does not want to work today. Next we have the boys. So you got 2 10-man squad of boys. You do not have the extra boys to take out the knob, so it's kind of weird. You have 1 knob and 9 boys. But if you run them as a 20-man squad, you have 1 knob and 19 boys, so you're going to have to run them as 2 10-mans. So that means you have 1, 2, 3 leader characters and 1, 2 support characters. You know, let's cover it real quick. Supports have to be attached to a squad. Leaders can be by themselves. You can have 1 leader and 1 support per squad, so 2 characters. These are all characters. So you can take a war boss and a banner knob in a squad, or a war boss and a pain boy in a squad. So you can take war boss, banner knob 1 squad, big boss, pain boy 2nd squad, and weird boy by himself. There is no way where you can split the squads further or anything. So one of your characters out the box is going to be by themselves. I would probably run the war boss by himself. He's pretty killy by himself. Although the weird boy would probably be pretty good by himself too. Outside of that, you kind of get everything you want. They're roughly 750 points is what everybody's been calculating. That's what Games Workshop said, you know, it should be about that much points. It's a good amount of points. So yeah, closing thoughts. Pretty much everything you want, maybe 1 or 2 more purchases out the box to get, like, you know, like a really great force to play with, but it's going to be fine playing with out the box by itself, especially against each other. new players definitely want to try to pick this up or pick up one of the sets that come out a little bit later on that contains most of this stuff. This is a fantastic place to start. Veteran players, you might want to pass this one, honestly. I'm definitely going to be picking up one, though. That's where my hat sits on this, is I really, really dig this set. Alrighty, so that's been the video. Sorry if this was a little long-winded. It's been a while since I made a video. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like and comment, or dislike if you didn't like the video. Share it with your friends who are on the fence, or share it with anybody, to be honest. And if you could, subscribe. If not, don't bother me too much. Alrighty, take care until next time.